Hey guys. Yes, my first show with Dell was City of Angels, and that was back in 1997. I hadn't done anything for 20 years, and I thought, I'm just going to give this a try. And I was able to play Stone. It was a big cast, lots of talented people, so I was very nervous. And it was all working pretty well. It was opening night. We're getting ready to do the show. The orchestra is about 14 pieces. They're usually union musicians and they're contracted, so they have a specific amount of time that they play. But we were running over. The show wasn't clipping along the way we thought it was. And so I'm getting ready to do my final number, a duet with Cara Harmon, the lovely Cara Harmon. And I'm about like 4 bars into the song, and we run out of time. And so the musicians just stopped playing, which they had to. But they stopped playing, and they actually started to pack up their instruments in the middle of the song. Well, fortunately, the pianist was able to continue. He was not part of the union musicians. So for the rest of my part of the song, and then for the rest of the show, we just had a piano. But it was a huge surprise to have somebody just stop playing and then just carry on. But it worked out. The audience, I don't think, totally knew what was going on. They just continued to hear music and the two of us singing, so they thought it was very natural. But that was my first show with Dell and one of my first big memories. Another funny thing was during Camelot, and that was the following year in 1998, and I got to play King Arthur, and Mark Graham was Lancelot. And during the course of the show, Lancelot is getting ready to sing C'est Moi. And that's when he's talking about himself and how wonderful he is. And he's starting by doing these like knightly gestures. I mean, holding up his sword and taking a pose. And it was very entertaining. Well, just as he started doing that, this 7-year-old boy who was sitting in the front of the rim of the Dell runs up to the apron of the stage and starts imitating him every single move he made. So Mark would strike a pose, and then this little kid would strike the pose. And then Mark would move to another pose, and the little kid would move to another pose. I mean, it was adorable, and it was extremely funny. And then just as Mark is getting ready to sing C'est Moi, or Lancelot is beginning to sing C'est Moi, the little kid stops. He gets this huge round of applause, and then Mark Graham starts to sing his song. So it was really cool, and one of those things that you really only get to experience at Dell. I would say that my most unique experience was during Pippin, and that was 7 years ago now. It was very funny because I was playing Charlemagne, and if you know the show, at the end of the first act, Pippin, who is Charlemagne's son, played by Dan Stackhouse, kills his father. And so I die on stage. And normally you're supposed to walk off, we have intermission, and then you come back on, take the pose, and continue with the show. But the director, who was a great director, Amy Purdue, decided, wouldn't it be funny if I stayed on stage and just played dead on stage? And at first I was like, what? And then I was like, no, that's really theatrical. That's a very funny thing to do. So he kills me. There's a little bit more of a scene, and then it's the end of the scene, big round of applause, and the lights come on for intermission. The intermission's like 15, 20 minutes. The intermission stops. We come back onto the stage, or the actors come back onto the stage, and we continue, and then I come to life. Well, I stayed on the stage through the whole period. And the stagehands would come out and they would like work around me as they set the new set. Sometimes they would poke me just for fun. But everybody wondered, well, what's going on here? A lot of people thought it was somehow they'd switched me out with a dummy or a mannequin. And but apparently I played a dead guy so well that that's dumb. That's just dumb. I was expertly portraying a dead body. I would say the most unique experience I had was in Pippin, which was about 8 years ago. And I was playing Charlemagne, who was Pippin's father. Pippin was Dan Stackhouse, and it was a great, great cast. And for those of you who know the show, Pippin kills his father at the end of Act 1. And then at the beginning of Act 2, there's a little scene, and then Charlemagne comes back to life because Pippin misses him. So we had rehearsed the scene just that way. So at the end of the first act, I would be dead, but then I would stroll off. We'd have intermission, I'd stroll back on, take the pose, and we'd go on from there. Well, the director, Amy Purdue, decided, wouldn't it be funny if I just stayed on stage? And at first I was like, what? And then I thought, no, that's pretty theatrical. I think that'd be a lot of fun to do. And so that's exactly what I did. He would kill me. I would lay down on the platform during the course of the intermission, which is about 20 minutes. And the stagehands would come out and they'd readjust some of the things, and they'd even poke me, or they'd like pick up my arm and it would drop. And so a lot of people thought I was a mannequin of some kind, or you might say a dummy. But as I talked to people afterward, it was clear that I was expertly playing a dummy dead on stage. The other thing I learned was when you do something like that, you really have to make sure that you kind of hit the bathroom before you go on stage, before they kill you, because that's a pretty long time to just remain motionless. But that was fun. Ah yes, my Achilles tendon. It was a couple of days before the final dress rehearsal, and we were on stage, and I was Marcus Lycus, and a funny thing happened on the way to the Forum, and we were just marching across the stage. It was the opening number, which everybody's on stage, and I'm walking across the center of the stage, and I feel it drop. And I'm like, what happened? And my assumption was that the stage actually, some kind of platform underneath the stage must have given way or broken underneath me. And my first thought was, I need to tell you, Joe, that this happened, and so we can make sure we can get it fixed and it's going to be taken care of and nobody else gets hurt. Well, then I take another step and I realize, no, that wasn't the stage, that's my foot. And for some reason I can't adjust my foot. There's no movement there. And I realize I've done something here, and fortunately there was no pain whatsoever. Sometimes that can be a very painful thing, but luckily there was no feeling whatsoever. So I took a couple more steps and I was just freaked out. I was like, what is going on here? So I left the rehearsal, I went to the doctor to see what had happened. He confirmed that I had ruptured my Achilles. And so he gave me this therapeutic boot that you wear so that the tendon and the muscle can grow back together, but over a period of time, like for 3 months. And I was like, well, opening night is on 3 days. Nobody else knows this part. I've got to be able to, and can I do it? And he says, as long as you can wear that boot, you can do the show. And I was like, I'm in a toga. I can't be wearing this futuristic looking boot. And so I go back and I talk to you about it, and then I also talked to the costumer, Tom Hammond, who's a brilliant costumer. And he says, give me a couple minutes, and he comes back later on that night, and he's created this boot cover that identically matches my costume, my toga, and so I play the rest of the run wearing my boot with only the little bottom of the boot hanging out. So it was really funny. And to top that off, and I'm wearing this boot for like 3 months, so I go back and I have to go to physical therapy. So I go in to see the physical therapist, I tell him what happened, I describe the fact that it happened at Dogwood Dell, and he says, I saw you in that show, and when I saw you I said, he's torn his Achilles, and that's what we're looking at. I thought, how funny, how random is that I would actually run into that guy again. So those are my stories with Dogwood Dell. The only other thing I'd like to mention is that I'm also the president of a friends group, the Friends of Dogwood Dell, and it's a charity group that's under the umbrella of the Enrichment Foundation. And we support, advocate, do fundraising, all for the sake of the Festival of the Arts of Dogwood Dell. And we try to contribute in any way we can. We've been together for about, I think 15 years now. And we've had some good years and bad years of helping them, support them. But if any of you would ever like to support the Dell in any way, please contact me at the Friends of Dogwood Dell. And that's all you have to do is type that into your Facebook search page and you'll get to us. And my contact information is there. So that's Friends of Dogwood Dell, and it's a charitable arm under the Enrichment Foundation. Thanks to you guys, and I hope you have a great day. Bye-bye.